We live in the most comfortable, physically painless era in human history. Technology automates chores, regulates our climate, and delivers food to our doors. Yet rates of anxiety, depression, and generalized dread are soaring. Look at the internet right now, and you'll see a massive cultural retreat. Trends like quiet quitting and bed rotting dominate social media, understandable reactions to severe corporate burnout. People are aggressively trying to live what they call the soft life, pulling back from effort to simply rest. But psychological data shows that this retreat only offers a temporary baseline of relief. Securing endless rest doesn't actually resolve the underlying distress. Getting exactly the comfort we crave is failing to cure the modern anxiety. When you pull away from cognitive and physical effort for too long, the brain enters a highly destructive state. It's a profound, crushing listlessness that occurs when you have all the means to live, but no real meaning to live for. Psychologists today call this the existential vacuum. The term was actually coined decades ago by psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl. He observed this widespread phenomenon sweeping through the 20th century. Frankl identified a specific condition called noogenic neurosis, which often surfaces as addiction, aggression, or depression. His research suggests this distress stems from a frustrated will to meaning, placing the root of the suffering in a void of purpose, rather than a physiological chemical imbalance. By chasing an entirely frictionless existence, we actually accelerate this neurosis. We inadvertently starve the brain of the competence and autonomy it requires to function properly. This diagram shows how psychology formally divides happiness into two distinct biological architectures. On one side, we have subjective well-being, or SWB. On the other side is psychological well-being, or PWB. Look closely at the SWB side. This represents hedonism. It is simply the presence of positive moods and the total lack of negative friction. This is the baseline for physical and mental comfort. Now shift to the PWB side. This represents eudaimonia. Achieving this state requires personal growth, autonomy, and environmental mastery. Twin studies show that a person's capacity for these two states is 30 to 50% genetic. They rely on overlapping but completely distinct dopaminergic and serotonergic systems in the body. Subjective well-being is easily triggered by immediate sensory rewards, a warm meal, a soft bed. But psychological well-being operates differently. Its reward networks only activate when the brain is forced to confront and solve complex, goal-directed friction. Human biology actively dictates a dual requirement. To maintain mental equilibrium, we need moments of sensory peace, but we are absolutely required to engage in complex struggle. The current trajectory of artificial intelligence targets the very thing eudaimonia requires: cognitive friction. Its development focuses on systematically removing effort from the human experience. When we let an algorithm plan our schedules, write our poetry, and generate our art, we are outsourcing the exact cognitive labor our minds need. This maximizes our comfort, but it actively starves our biological requirement for psychological well-being. In 1974, philosopher Robert Nozick proposed a thought experiment to illustrate this exact danger. He called it the experience machine. Nozick asked us to imagine a machine capable of perfectly simulating any desirable, pain-free experience you could ever want. You would float in a tank, feeling incredible, forever. Yet, when asked if they would plug in for life, nearly everyone says no. Nozick concluded that humanity inherently rejects a simulated existence because we want to actually do the work. Look at the trajectory of modern technology. We are rapidly building Nozick's machine in real life. Accelerating toward a completely frictionless existence directly violates our inherent need to engage with reality and earn our sense of self. Framing comfort and struggle as enemies is a mistake. Psychologists argue instead for the full life. If you pursue eudaimonia without hedonism, you become a rigid, burnt-out martyr. If you pursue hedonism without eudaimonia, you become an empty, bored consumer. We also have to acknowledge the privilege of purpose. According to psychologist Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, hedonistic survival, securing food, a safe shelter, a moment of rest, is an absolute biological priority. You cannot effectively focus on global purpose or self-actualization if you are trapped in survival mode. This animation shows how your genetics are not a rigid trap. While your baseline for purpose has a genetic component, science points to neuroplasticity and epigenetic expression. Your external environment and your daily behaviors physically alter how your genes express themselves. Action precedes motivation. This means no one is universally excluded from finding purpose based on their DNA alone. True psychological stability is a deliberate, actionable balance. It requires carefully managing the proportion and timing between the comfort you enjoy and the struggle you take on. For hundreds of thousands of years, the human nervous system evolved against a harsh environment. Our brains were wired to extract a deep chemical sense of meaning from the daily physical struggle required to survive and protect our communities. Our ultimate technological goal right now is to build a frictionless utopia. But by doing so, we are engineering an environment our brains are biologically incompatible with. The antidote to this evolutionary mismatch is what psychologists call the purposeful climb. In a post-labor world, you have to intentionally seek out and embrace safe adversity. If human meaning requires friction, the humans of the future will face a strange reality. We will have to artificially manufacture our own suffering just to feel alive.